Hello to all the debt warriors listening, and welcome back to another episode of Millennial Debt Domination. I'm your host, Katie Fata. Navicore Solutions is a national leader in the field of nonprofit financial counseling. Navicore provides a wide range of services, including credit counseling, education programs, debt management plans, student loan counseling, and housing counseling. Today, I'll be joined by Shatoria S, who is currently a client on a debt management plan at Navicore. Shatoria struggles with student loan, credit card, and medical debt, and this year she decided to make a change and get serious about her debt domination. Shatoria and I will be discussing her credit counseling session, financial tools she uses to keep up with her finances, what motivates her to stay positive about finances, and much more. Now, let's get to my interview with Shatoria. Hi, Shatoria. Thanks for being on the podcast today.
Hi, Catherine. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so you're currently a client with Navicore, so I'm excited to hear about your experience with us and everything. So to start off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. So I'm a mom of three. I actually have three little boys, ages 4, 3, and no, he's not 3. He's 4. He acts like he's 3, but he's 2 and a 13-month-old,
Okay.
All boys. So my household's very busy. But aside from the boys, I am an accountant.
Okay.
I do have a financial background. So I know it's kind of weird to be like, oh my gosh, you have a financial background and you need help. Yes, because just like doctors are their worst patients, and the same rule applies to accountants. So I just have like some student loan debt, credit card debt, medical debt from having children. And with the state of our economic climate, things just kind of, got kind of crazy. So it's like, you know what? I think I need to reach out for some help.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Anyone can have debt. So
Right.
why don't you talk about your situation before you started the debt management program? You kind of mentioned how you accumulated your debt, and then just the different debts you have, if you have anything besides of what you already mentioned.
Sure. So when I graduated from high school, I went straight to college. Everyone was like, get a student loan, applying for scholarships, get loans. So I got a loan. I didn't know what I was doing. I just did it because I was told that's what I needed to do. At 18 years old, it's kind of like, okay, well, these adults are telling me to do that, so I trust their judgment.
Okay.
Now looking back on it, it's like, I wish somebody could have said, hey, wait, maybe you should do this instead, or maybe you should go to a junior college at the time instead of going straight to a 4-year. But anyway, I got my bachelor's degree from a private institution, which the costs are higher at private schools than they are state schools. When I graduated from college, that's when that economic recession happened. So it was kind of hard to find a job at the time, especially in the finance field, because a lot of people weren't really hiring. So I decided to go back to school. And I got my master's degree in finance from another private school, which at the time, I'm young. I'm just like, oh, they accepted me. I've heard of this school before. I'm going to go here because they accepted me. Little did I know that this school that I applied to was extremely expensive. But I got my MBA, then couldn't find a job. So it's like, oh man, I'm overly degreed, overly qualified according to people, but I don't have the work experience on the other side. So it's like, well, I don't know what I need to do. So I started substitute teaching. And then eventually I got my first job. And I had a little bit of debt, like credit card debt and the student loan debt. I paid off all my credit card debt. I was very ambitious. I did that. So the only debt I had to focus on was student loan debt. So I set up a plan with my student loan provider and to pay the debt because I really wasn't making that much. So that was good. So once I started working and I'm looking at these checks, it's like, oh, I want to buy this. I want to buy that. Oh, I need to keep up with this person over here. She has this new purse. She has these new shoes. So I became like an impulse shopper. I was just buying things. And then it's like, oh, and I get my statement. I can look at it and see that, oh, if I just pay this every month, then all I have to do is, so I just kind of messed myself up. But, young, didn't know better. And it's okay. You learn from it. But that's how I accumulated my credit card debt. Mm-hmm. I had already paid it off, but now I'm back in debt again because it's like, I feel like I deserve to treat myself because I'm working hard. Like you can't just work and not enjoy life, you know? So, but I could have treated myself, but just not to those lavish and expensive things that I was buying. So I ended up moving. So right now I'm based in Tampa, Florida. I'm originally from South Florida, the West Palm Beach area. So I moved over here and everything was good until I burnt my foot. I was trying to make some spaghetti and I was boiling water. And when I went to take the water off of the stove, I dropped the pot and the pot fell on my feet. So I burnt my feet and I couldn't walk or do anything for a few weeks. I had to recover. So during my recovery, I was buying some more things, like trying to make myself feel better. And I don't know why I was buying shoes. Like I can't wear shoes and I'm buying them. Like it doesn't make any sense. So near the tail end of my recovery, I found out I was pregnant with my son, oldest son. So I'm like, oh, I need to buy things for the baby. Now, mind you, I have these credit cards, but I'm just paying the minimum on them. I'm not paying anything substantial to make a dent on it. Baby boy came, of course, he's my firstborn. So it's like, he needs this, he needs this, he needs this, he needs this, he needs this. Oh, I need to get this too, but I'm going to keep paying these minimum balances, you know, horrible. So, had my second son 2 years later. And with him, that's when I got the medical debt because we moved into an apartment while we were getting our house built. When we moved into the new house, some of our mail didn't get routed to the new address. Like it took 2 months, which I don't understand how that happened. So medical bills just started showing up and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what is this? So now I'm like, oh my gosh, I got medical bills, you know, still trying to pay the minimums on those other cards because I didn't pay them. Those credit cards, the rates were not the rates, the overall credit limit was increasing. So I'm like, oh, I'm thinking I'm doing something great, which I should have known better, but still charging things, paying the minimum balances and finding myself like in a kind of bad situation, but I'm able to manage it. Well, COVID came and we ended up finding out about my third baby, who was a surprise because we weren't anticipating on having any more kids. I found out I was pregnant with him January of 2021, and he was born February 2021. I only had 4.5 weeks to prepare for his arrival. So, didn't know I was pregnant. Huh?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, didn't know at all, like no clue, like no symptoms, nothing. Wow. And my baby was like, he just turned 1. So I'm like, oh my God. So after having my baby last year, my third one, we got COVID, me, him, and dad. So we got COVID and kind of set us back a little bit because that was around the time where the vaccines were first starting to come out. So we were down and about for about a month and a half. And fortunately, I was able to contact my creditors and just let them know, hey, I'm on maternity leave. I don't really have any income coming in. We have COVID and I didn't have to pay anything. So when I went back to work, I tried to catch up with paying these bills and one of my bills, I just didn't pay it. I was like, I can't afford to pay it. So I just stopped paying it. So beginning of this year, I made a plan to get intentional with my money because I'm like, I don't want to just sit back and be that person who's running from debt collectors or who's afraid to do this or who can't accept or embrace like fiscal responsibility. So I reached out to my bank and I was like, I need to know what can I do to help me get back on track because I can't keep living like this. Like, this is horrible. And how am I going to set a good example for my boys, you know? So that's how I found out about, I think I'm jumping ahead, but that's how I
found
out about Navicore Solutions. So that's why we're here now.
Yeah. So at the beginning of this year, you kind of decided, all right, I'm ready to conquer my debt. And that's kind of when you knew you were ready to turn to Navicore for help.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you decided to turn to Navicore, and after your first initial call with a Navicore counselor, what were your first thoughts on the program?
My first thoughts was, wow, this isn't that bad. Because I think a lot of negativity or like stigmas are associated when you have to get help for something like that. But it's like these programs are in place to help us. And I had to put that like stigma in the back of my head because I'm like, I can't do it by myself. If this company is here to help me out, I might as well take advantage of it, because obviously me trying to maintain my household and chase behind 3 babies, I have too much stuff on my plate. So I need somebody to help me out. And that was pretty much what made me decide, you know what, let's go ahead and let's do it. Because at the end of the day, if they're able to help me quickly pay off my debt, then I want to quickly pay off my debt and then just have this horrible cloud from hanging over my head.
Yeah, I think you mentioned such a great point about the stigmas too, because some people are embarrassed to get help with their finances.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't like talking about money. And, you know, it's just like those are conversations that we just have to have. But, you know, it's more of like a status thing. It's like, well, I'm not going to talk about it because you're going to look at me as if I'm cheap or if I'm poor, if whatever. But you have people that make 7 figures and they're poor, you know, like they might have the money in the bank, but they have poor money management habits, I should say.
No, 100%. That's so true. So how would you describe your counseling session with the Navicore counselor?
My counseling session was awesome. In fact, I think we were on the phone for like an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Because we were just talking, and she was just very relatable. Like she was like, you don't have to feel guilty, you know, because things like this happen. Life happens. She was like, look, at COVID happened. We didn't even know that was coming. So she was like, the fact that we're having this conversation lets me know that you're serious about improving your finances, improving your credit and getting better. She was like, because you could have easily ran and just ignored it. And then, you know, it could have been worse. You could have gotten sued, you know, whatever. But she was so nice, so awesome. And to the point where I felt like we knew each other before we, you know, even had the conversation, because it was just an easy conversation. It just flowed together, and she never made me feel guilty about anything.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that she didn't make you just feel like another number or anything. You kind of felt like she was interested in your story and to help your specific. Yeah. I mean, yeah, our programs are, you know, specific for the client. So yeah. So after you talked to the counselor, were you skeptical of our debt management program, or did you believe that Navicore could really help you?
Initially, I was skeptical, and that was just because of mindset. Again, those stigmas. And I had to, because I didn't fill out my enrollment form. I waited a little bit because I'm like, no, I can do it. I can just do the debt snowball method, and I can take care of it myself. And I was almost to the point where I wasn't going to enroll. But one day I came home from work and I'm like, no, I'm going to call them. Like, I'm not going to sit here and think that I can do it, because I can't. Like, that's what this program is here for. So I called back. My counselor wasn't available, or the initial counselor wasn't available. So I spoke to someone else, and she was just as sweet as the first counselor that I spoke with. And she was like, you're doing the right thing. She was like, listen, let me tell you, you know, what this is. And this was an older lady. So she kind of made me feel like I was talking to my mom. And so she was like, I'm going to tell you, this is what it is. And this is what you need to do. Okay. And so I'm like, okay. She was like, don't take it the wrong way. She was like, I know you're going to receive it. And I did. And that's the reason why I was like, okay, let's push this button. Let's make it work.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of people don't fill out their application right away. So it's totally normal. You want to think about it and, you know, but at the end of the day, I'm glad you did, because now you're going to be on the track we'll be helping you pay off your debt.
Yes.
Yeah. So what financial tools do you use in your everyday life to keep up with your finances?
So I do have a planner, and this year is the first year I've actually used my planner consistently. I buy one every year, and I think after like January 10th, I don't use it anymore, to the point where it's like I just wasted $20 for this planner. But I'm like, no, I'm gonna carry it with me everywhere I go. Like, I carry it in my bag to work. So when I go on my lunch break, I pull it out. When I'm sitting at my desk and I think about something, I pull it out. Like each month when I pay my bills, I write it down in my calendar. and I check it off. I write my confirmation numbers because I'm like, I just have to break that poor habit of not accurately recording things. Like, it's like, okay, you make a mental note that you paid the bill, but I need to physically see it that I paid it so that I know, okay, I paid it, and I need to know next month this bill is coming up again. So within these 30 days, I need to make sure I arrange my finances, or I have a certain amount of money set off to the side so that I can pay my bills so I can stay afloat.
Yeah. And I think I've talked about this on prior podcasts, but it's just so easy to charge and forget things nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that idea of writing down everything. And I'm glad that you stuck with it.
Yeah, and as a mom, it's like, my boys, they're little, so it's like we're always running around doing things with them, and I'm trying to remember what days somebody has swimming lessons, or who needs diapers at school, or who needs wipes. And it's like, I can't keep everything in my head. So if I'm able to write this down, that will help me out, because now I can go back and look, physically see it and say, oh yes, that's right, I need to do that.
Yeah, that the planner is definitely a good tool to use for managing your finances. Do you have any other tools or advice you would want to give to people who maybe have a hard time, managing their
So I also use my phone.
Okay.
I do I have alerts set up in my phone to say like, hey, this bill is due, that bill is due. And I have it set on a monthly recurring event. So like when I paid off like my Loft store card, and surprisingly, that was one card I could actually maintain, but I think it's because I could make payments in store right after I purchased something. So that was easy to keep up with. So once I paid off that bill, I just deleted that alert out my phone so it wouldn't keep popping up. But and I always use like my calculator, and as an accountant, I just like calculators. So I could be sitting in the car riding. Of course, I'm not driving, but sitting in the car, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I just start calculating because these numbers just come into my head. But I love being able to use like a calculator, sometimes pen and paper. People think it's archaic, but it works. So
yeah, with your phone, like people are always looking at their phone, so that's a good tool to have to use.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any like advice for people who might not be able to manage their finances?
I really think they shouldn't be as hard on themselves. Like, take it one step at a time. Like, what's one bill that, like for me, I know I need my phone. Like I carry it. I think everybody does.
Yeah.
So that's one bill that I actually have on auto pay. Like my other bills, I don't have them on auto pay. And it's because of how my pay dates at work fall. So it's kind of hard to put them on auto pay when I know they're not going to come out on that day.
Yeah.
But I did start doing something called the half payment method, which is where, let's use my phone bill, for instance. If my phone bill is $100, what I do is I take $50 out of my first paycheck and $50 out of my next paycheck, and I make that transfer into like my household account. So since I have my phone bill on auto pay, by the time that my bill comes due, I have $100 sitting in that account, and I know that I'm never going to be late, or I'm never going to go over, or, miss a payment, because I do those half payments. So I'm getting back on track with the half payment thing, because I was doing really well with it prior to COVID. So I said, okay, I have my phone bill set up for the half payment method. And then I'm going to start bringing on like my cable next. So I just wanted to start with one bill at a time. I didn't want to overdo it by putting them all on that method in the beginning, because it could feel a little overwhelming. But I feel like it works, especially if like majority of my bills are due at the end of the month. So instead of just trying to pay everything off of one check and have like $6 left over, if I do the half payment method, I may have $150 left over from a paycheck, or $250. It depends on, how much that bill is for that month. And it works for me. I like it.
I love that. That's such a great idea. You're like paying yourself first.
Exactly.
Yeah, we definitely have some information too on that I'll link in the description on this podcast. But I always like to say make it automatic if you can financially do it, because then you're not forgetting it. You're not getting in trouble. Right. You're not going to have to put on your credit card,
Exactly.
Yeah. You don't want to have to rely on credit cards or stuff like that. So love that, and love that advice. So, what motivates you to stay so positive about your finances during hard times or when you're struggling?
I think the end goal, because it's like in everything, it's like we always set goals, just like me going to college. When you enter college as a freshman, you're like, oh my gosh, I want to get this degree. And you work hard. Some of those years might be harder than others, but when you're in that final semester of your senior year, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like my financial obligations have been met. I've satisfied all the requirements. I know this degree is right around the corner. It's like just knowing that I made it is the reason why I'm just like, you know what? I have to stay positive about this, because although it looks kind of messy right now, I know if I focus on it, set a goal, have a game plan, 4 years from now, I won't even be worried about it, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like I have to look at that. And then I think I look at it with my kids. It's like, okay, you guys are babies now. So by the time you're in pre-K, well, not my oldest, but my baby, by the time he's in pre-K, I won't even be worried about this stuff anymore.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Then my money will be going to like T-ball and swimming, things like that.
Then you'll have to readjust your budget again.
Right. But the good thing is it will not be going on credit. We will be paying in cash for those items.
That's great. No, that's so great. I love that.
Thank you.
So I know you just started our debt management program, but do you recommend it if someone is struggling with debt?
Absolutely. Especially with the resources that were provided. And like I was telling my counselor, I told her, I said, I know about a lot of this stuff already. I said, I'm familiar with it. I said, but I said, I do think that this information is good because everybody doesn't know. Some people don't know, like, that you could use a debt management program. Some people think that, oh my gosh, I have to pay all of this by myself. I'm struggling. I need help. Like, people don't know that there are programs available, you know? So it's like, would I recommend this? Heck yes. You know, I would in a heartbeat, like, you know, and for those people who were able to do the debt snowball plans or those debt reduction plans on their own, I commend them, you know, but it's like, for those of us who can't, there's a program over here that can help me. And the thing that I like is that there are other programs out there, I think, as well. And that's probably why I was kind of hesitant in the beginning. But some of those programs, they take more from you than what they actually put towards the debt.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to get involved in anything like that, where this company is, you know, taking more money from me and only applying a little bit towards my debt. Because at the end of the day, it's like, well, how are you going to help me to get better? You know?
Yeah. You definitely want to make sure you're working with like an NFCC nonprofit certified credit counseling company.
Yes. And I think when I found that out, that you guys were nonprofit, I'm like, oh yes, sign me up.
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure, because there are some sketchy ones out there. So, but Navicore is definitely a nonprofit, and we're certified by the NFCC. So we're here to help, and I'm excited that you're on the.
Yay,
so now that you're on your debt management program, do you feel confident that the program will help you eventually become debt free?
I do, like 100%. Like, I had my own spreadsheets, like tracking everything. And I believe that with Navicore, I'll be able to accomplish my goal quicker as opposed to me doing it myself, because, you know, I have my bills set up automatically for my money to go over there and you guys to take care of it. And it's just like, okay, you know, you guys got it. And I'm going to trust you guys to do it. And then my statements are still going to come to my house, where I can see, okay, where I can see where the payment has been applied and where the balances have gone down. And the same thing with, if I get any additional money, I can send some additional funds over to you guys. You guys can apply it to my outstanding debt, and that can help expedite my payoff as well. So I am extremely confident in this program, and I just can't wait once we reach that finish line and I can say I'm credit card debt free.
Yeah. I'm excited for you. I hope that maybe we can talk again when you finish the program. We can get your full story on how it feels to be debt free.
Yes, I can't wait. Like, when I tell you, I'm really excited and I feel good. Like, I don't know if you can tell, like, off my energy, that I'm just like so excited, but I really am. I really am.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I always love to hear like when clients are happy and they're excited about the program, and then they're excited to be debt free. So I wish you luck through our program.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share? I know that you have an Instagram where you like to help people with their finances.
Yes, I do have an Instagram account. It's called Coin Counting Mama.
Mhm.
And I created it basically just to talk about budgeting, money struggles, and sometimes being a parent. It's kind of all over the place right now. But for the most part, it is about like me documenting budgeting because I didn't really see too many people talking about it when I started my account. Now that I have the account, I see more accounts that are similar. And I do get DMs with people reaching out saying, like, oh, I didn't know about this, or I feel guilty sometimes, or, I just never really thought I could talk about money. But it's like, we just have to have those conversations. I don't have to know exactly, what you make, but, fiscal accountability is very important. And it's like, we got to talk about it. Like, you might have people who are able to put $5,000 towards debt. But if you're able to put an extra $5 towards it, that's good too. Like, we got to celebrate those small wins, not always the big ones,
Yeah, I definitely agree. Something is better than nothing when it comes to paying down debt or budgeting or saving retirement. Something is always better than nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you, Shatoria, for being on the podcast today and taking time to talk to me.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I just want to wish you again luck with our program, and I can't wait for you to become debt free.
Oh, thank you, Catherine.
Shatoria has been struggling with debt for quite some time. COVID happening and having a surprise baby pushed her farther into debt than she was before. She originally thought she'd be able to conquer her debt on her own, but then decided it would be the best option to enlist the help of Navicore. Although Shatoria was originally skeptical about the debt management plan, she thought about it and gave us a call back to enlist in the program to eventually become debt-free. I could tell just how excited Shatoria was to be a part of a debt management program. Not only is she excited to be paying down her debt, but she's also embracing a new financial lifestyle. She's writing down all of her bills so she doesn't forget to pay any, and she's also keeping track of her purchases. She's moving forward by not charging everything on her credit card and making sure she has enough money for items before she purchases them. She's also setting bills on autopay. This will help her avoid late fees and avoid having to charge bills on her credit card. Shatoria is looking forward to a debt-free future for her and her family, and we wish her all the best. With that being said, that wraps up another episode of Millennial Debt Domination. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate and review us there. I'll talk to you next time, Millennials, Gen Zers, and everyone else listening. Bye.